moment, liquefied gases can be released, vaporizing immediately. Being heavier than air, they remain close to the ground. The pressure within the tank can cause the metal to thin and eventually tear. The pressure drops suddenly. Large quantities of boiling liquid vaporize, expand, and ignite immediately, and tank pieces become flying missiles.
Tarragona, donde perdieron la vida, donde perdieron la vida, más de 200 personas.
He has declined to make a last statement.
Are you ready to tell him?
National TV counselors say parents should monitor what children are watching.
The Los Alfaques disaster was a road tanker explosion that occurred near a holiday campsite on Tuesday, July 11, 1978, in Alcanar, Spain. The exploding truck, which was carrying 23 tons of highly flammable liquefied propylene, killed 215 people and severely burned 200 more. Several individuals from the company that owned the vehicle were prosecuted for criminal negligence. The accident resulted in new legislation in Spain restricting the transit of vehicles carrying dangerous cargo through populated areas to nighttime only. Most of the victims were holidaymakers from Germany and other European countries who were staying at the Los Alfaques seaside campground. The site, which is located at 159 kilometers on the N340 National Road, is 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles south of the town of Sant Carles de la Ràpita. The campsite of Los Alfaques, Spanish for The sandbanks is triangular-shaped and wedged between the beach and the N340 Coastal National Road. It is about 2 kilometers south of the nearest township, Sant Carles de la Ràpita, although it belongs to the territory of the Alcanar municipality. From north to south, the accident tapered from about 100 meters down to 30 meters wide. Separating the campsite from the road was a brick wall with a concrete foundation. The campsite's legal capacity was 260 people. However, on the day of the accident, some 800 people were staying on the original grounds and on 2 new, undeclared extensions. Luckily, not all the occupants were at the premises at the time. The truck involved in the accident consisted of a Pegaso tractor unit and a Fruhauf semi-trailer tanker. It was owned by the Cisternas Reunidas, S.A., and on the day of the accident was driven by 50-year-old Francisco Embernan Valina. At 10:15 a.m., the driver arrived at the state-owned Impetrol refinery, located at La Pobla de Mafumet, 9 kilometers north of Tarragona, to be loaded with liquefied propylene for another state-owned company, Polar, now Repsol, in Puertolano. At 12:05 p.m., the fully laden truck left the refinery carrying 23.47 tons, 25.87 short tons, 23,470 kilograms of propylene, which was more than 4 tons over the maximum design load for the tanker. Thus, the tank was nearly hydraulically full of liquid, with minimal ullage space. The tanker drivers were under instructions to take the smaller N340 National Road instead of the A7. In the late 1970s, the N340 was still a narrow and winding coastal road that passed directly through several densely populated urban areas. By 2:35 p.m., the truck was driving past the Los Alfaques campsite after traveling 102 kilometers, 63 miles from the Impetrol refinery. The time is known because the driver's watch, which was found still attached to his burnt wrist, had stopped at 2:36 p.m. The tightly packed campsite was crowded with nearly 1,000 holidaymakers, many from Germany in trailers and tents. During the journey, solar radiation and ambient temperature heated the liquefied gas from its initial conditions. Under normal conditions, the presence of ullage gas vapors would have meant an increase in pressure well within the mechanical limits of the tank. However, the tank was hydraulically full, which meant that the liquid had no room left to thermally expand. This resulted in the tank walls being stressed over their design capacity. According to some reports from surviving witnesses, the tanker was already leaking liquefied gas while passing by the campsite. Some witnesses thought they heard a loud bang that preceded the leak. The bang might have been caused by a blown tire, which caused the truck to swerve and crash into the wall separating the campsite from the roadside, possibly overturning in the process. Others argue that there was no mechanical failure or traffic accident before the loss of containment, with the overstressed pressure vessel failing at a weak point. Within seconds, highly flammable propylene started flashing out of the ruptured tank that drifted into the campsite and toward a discotheque to the northeast.
A moving freight train hits a parked train at the Texarkana depot, causing a derailment, but not an explosion.
Could you call them back and see if they can ascertain exactly which car is overturned and maybe what the contents of the car was?
I've got some kind of chemical smell. I'm backing up. It's slowly drifting further south.
According to some reports, numerous intrigued campers approached the cloud with curiosity as it continued to spread. Eventually, it became so dense that many were unable to see the tanker. Within moments of the cloud reaching the discotheque, it ignited into a flash fire that quickly returned to the source of the leak, thus causing the weakened tanker to explode. This generated a massive boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, BLEVE, whereby the entire content of the tank car vaporized and burnt almost instantly into a fireball with a diameter estimated between 40 to 60 meters and 180 meters, resulting in tremendous levels of thermal radiation, as well as a significant blast wave. Other reporters suggest that external fires did not contribute to the onset of the BLEVE, with the pressure vessel having BLEVed as a consequence of the tank walls being weakened by the thermal expansion of the liquefied propylene and the resulting expanding vapor cloud catching fire only moments after its release. The fire destroyed everything, cars, trailers, and buildings within a 90-meter, 300-foot radius, charred everything within a 300-meter, 980-foot radius, gutting over 90% of the main camping area. The 2/3 of the tank flew northwest, landing about 150 meters away, and then slid, coming to rest against the wall of a restaurant, 300 meters from the starting point. The middle section was flung about 100 meters into the campsite. The explosion and fireball instantly killed 158 people, including the truck driver. Victims were seen with their hair and clothing on fire, fleeing into the sea in an attempt to put out the flames. In the first 45 minutes after the disaster, the wounded were removed in an uncoordinated fashion with the help of other survivors, using their own cars and vans. Locals also provided help and took the wounded to the hospitals. Ambulances and other emergency forces gradually arrived. The first ambulance came at 2:45 p.m. from a Shell oil drilling site at San Carles. Municipal ambulances arrived at 3:05 p.m. and the fire brigade at about 3:30 p.m. The Civil Guard and the armed forces searched the devastated camp for survivors. It took 3 hours until the last of the wounded were removed and taken to hospital. The burning tanker blocked the road, dividing the injured into two groups, one being taken northwards and the other southwards. On the road to the north, the injured received adequate medical care once they had reached either the hospitals at Amposta or at the Tortosa. The final destination of 58 severely burned patients. There was no DNA test available at the time. As a result of the work done by the forensic teams from the tourists' home countries, all victims were eventually identified.
Au-delà de la mort, dans un moment, je prie le Seigneur que la force de son Saint-Esprit
Following the accident, Cisternas Reunidas accepted responsibility for the disaster, but denied any order or prohibition to the drivers to use the motorway instead of the national road, claiming that it was the driver who chose which road to take. Later, some workers at the Tarragona plant stated they heard the driver repeatedly arguing with someone on the phone and demanding money for the motorway toll.
Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the world go around. Money makes the world go around, it makes the world go round.
The reason? To avoid the company having to reimburse them for a motorway toll.
Crab? Oh, brother, they're so cheap, they can't even pay attention.
It's true! I am cheap!
As mining companies became more and more desperate to survive, they looked to save money where they could, often cutting corners when it came to the safety of workers. For this reason, officials often turned a blind eye, an attitude they later described as benign neglect. In the days leading up to the disaster, workers at the Hamlet plant made some repairs to a leaking hydraulic line on one of the machines. The head mechanic had requested a brand new replacement line, but was told by the Rose that it would be too expensive and to use a spare part instead. Workers fitted a spare line, but were unhappy with the result. The line was too long and presented a trip hazard. To tidy up their work, they sliced the line into pieces with a saw and used an improvised connector to shorten it. It's worth noting that this was all done while the factory was fully operational.
We're sorry for the massive disruption it's caused to their lives. And there's no one who wants this thing over more than I do. I'd like my life back. So there's no one who wants this thing done more than I do.
That was fate.
Oh, he's done for.
Yeah, don't worry, the safety glass will protect us.
Run! We'll hide at my house! Hey! This emergency exit is painted on!
There's no way out! There's no way out! We're doomed! Doomed!
Well, sir, I won't bore you with the details of our miraculous escape, but we desperately need a real emergency exit.
Why, that's a fabulous idea. Anything else you'd like? How about real lead in the radiation shields?
Petrol initially declined any responsibility, claiming that the delivery of the cargo was the carrier's responsibility, and they had not received any complaint. The official Tarragona plant lacked either a meter to measure the amount of gas dispensed or an automatic shutoff device to prevent overfilling, and consequently, most tanks were consistently overloaded. The driver was neither informed of the overloading nor about the type and class of the cargo, and there was no means for him to check the pressure level of the tank before he departed or to monitor it in transit. He had not attended the hazmat training program for drivers of vehicles carrying dangerous goods because the company considered his experience of 20 years as a truck driver to be sufficient. The inquiry also determined that between January 3rd and July 7th of that year, 32 tanks driven by several different individuals left the Tarragona refinery overloaded. After the tragedy, daytime transit of populated areas by vehicles carrying dangerous cargo was prohibited. In 1982, 4 employees of Petrol and 2 of Cisternas Reunidas were convicted of criminal negligence and were sentenced to prison for between 1 and 4 years. Later, 4 of them were released after appealing the court's decision, and all prison sentences were suspended or reduced. The 2 companies paid an equivalent of 13.23 million euros as compensation to the victims